well. Some examples of that would be a new date period, previous day that contains data, plus 10 other new date periods that are available for your retrieval settings, a new configuration setting that lets you change the first day of the week to Monday, and a dashboard grid that can now dynamically filter for the most recent part, process, traceability value found. Another way to reduce your effort or improve your efficiency is centers around setting up data entry inspections and entering the data you need. So there's a new rating test, new settings that can require event, cause, and action taken entries when the failure occurs. It's a configurable button with sub-inspections and the ability to hide or display tests while you're doing a sub-inspection. Some of the top-of-mind items for development that we focus on are reducing total cost of ownership and ease of use and enhanced user experience. Just so you know, some of our things that we're keeping top of mind as we're writing new code. So we're on target for an end-of-month release, end of October release for version 9.1, and we hope you enjoy this preview. And at this point, I'll turn it over to David.
All right, thanks very much, Byron. And I wanted to also thank Jen for inviting me here to show you guys some stuff. And I also would like to say, for the record, I do not geek out that often, just so you know. It does happen on occasion. So one of the first things that I wanted to show you is in inspections, and Byron just mentioned it briefly, was this new test we have, this new ratings test. This is one of the first new tests we've had in a long time, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I'm going to run us through making one of them real quick so you can see what it looks like. So I'm over here in the inspection editor, inspections for PC Collect, and I've already set up a few traceabilities. And there's a new button, if you haven't noticed it yet, sort of on the top middle there, and that's the rating test. So I want to make one of those. And the idea of this test, you'll see pretty quickly what it looks like, is you give a rating, let's say on a scale of 1 to 5, to some characteristic, and what ends up happening is that rating that you've given can get stored both as an SPC record, some numerical entry, and also potentially as a DMS record, some defect associated with having a low rating. So let's do ice cream sweetness. And I'm doing this in the editor because we actually have a sort of what you see is what you get interface for creating this test. So what you see here is exactly what it'll look like to the operators. So you can assign colors and labels and also DMS defects for each possible value. So I'm going to go through here and basically create a range of values for how sweet your ice cream is. So the bad situation is where your ice cream is very bland. The middle situation will be moderately sweet. A good case will be sweet, and very sweet, that will be at the top. So you can assign custom labels, and also the colors are customizable. So if I want to really highlight the spectrum here, I can make the bad cases, let's say red and orange, the sort of mediocre case yellow, and then trending towards green on the good side. So this kind of really highlights the way that the test can be used as a spectrum of values. So let me set up a few more settings and then show you how the data goes into the database when we use one of these ratings tests. The first thing I need to do is real quick decide that I'm going to store an SPC standard, and the SPC standards I have set up for this already is ice cream sweetness. And I'm also going to have a trace field that stores the label, and once I've done that, then my whatever ratings I'm storing for my ratings test are going to get associated with this DMS standard that's already in my inspection, ice cream, and the ice cream sweetness standard for the SPC. So let me just run this real quick. So in this inspection, there's some traceabilities, and now in my ice cream sweetness, the interface looks just like in my editor. I'll select something, and let's say that I submit that. Then let me go over to my data real quick and show you what I've got. So let me refresh these. So at the top here is my, these are my SPC values. So you see there's a 4 there. That was sweet with all the appropriate traceabilities. And then at the bottom here, I have a DMS record stored. And you see at the bottom, I actually have a sample size of 1, number good 1, so 0 defects. So that's what I wanted. Now I'm going to go back and make some changes to my ratings test. Because what I want to happen when the operators, let's say when the operator has a bland or very bland ice cream, is I actually want to store a defect with that. So under defects, there's a bland defect. I'm actually going to have both 1 and 2 result in a bland defect. So now what will happen if I run this, and I end up with a very bland ice cream, that will go into the database as an actual defect, along with storing the SPC value of 1 up there at the top. All right, so that was my little spiel on the ratings test. I have one more sort of inspection to demo, so let me get out of this one.
And the rating of the ice cream, I know I can just picture about 4 or 5 different types of ice cream. It's making me hungry now.
Oh yeah, every time I'm looking at it, it makes me hungry. All right, so this is my other inspection I want to demo. It's going to look pretty similar to the last one. There's just a few more things I wanted to point out here, some new features from 9.1. One is with these traceability fields here, we now have the ability to start typing in one of them and have the text autocomplete and slowly get narrowed down as you type more letters. So, for example, you have a big long list of operators and you don't want to have to scroll through the operator list. You can just start typing your code, and as you do, it'll narrow down the list of options, and you may even want to type 2 characters to get to your actual operator name. So that's one of the, there's various ways to configure that. There's one of the new options. The other thing I wanted to highlight here was, again, the rating test, but I'm actually using it here as in a broader sense, because I think it's a great example of a sort of very responsive user interface control. So the way I have this set up is it responds when you click on one of these boxes. It activates or deactivates different SPC numeric input fields. So it's an alternate use for that test. And other
pretty cool application of that.
So that would be the geeky thing I tell you that he works on, or things like that.
I had a feeling she would say that once I got to that point.
Quick question on the rating, and either one of you guys can answer this. Does the rating feature work on the iPad version?
No.
No. Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. Good question, though. All right. Continue. Sorry.
All right. So I think that's all I have to share for now, but if we have some time a little bit later, I'll come back and maybe present 1 or 2 more things. But for now, let me go ahead and turn it over to Byron for his choices.
All right.
See if Byron can wow us more than that rating. I don't know.
David took the rating test. That was one.
Yeah, because I get to go first, so I got to pick.
I do like the rating test.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. And I want to start off with 3 items that are IT related. We've successfully tested Microsoft SQL Server on Linux. So using SQL Server on Linux is now an option. That's where you want to go. We're also shipping a 64-bit version of GS Charts, the charting module. And just to show you, you can switch in Launchpad to use the 64-bit version. And if I fire up GainSeeker Charts, go into Help About, you can see there it'll say 64-bit is true. which it won't say obviously on the 32-bit side. So anyways, just to show you that we've added some 64-bit support, which does better memory management. So if you're doing huge retrievals, 400,000 or 500,000 data points, it'll manage that better than it has in the past with the 64-bit version.
And isn't that what we tested, like with like 300,000 data points
I think
instead of like
over.
minutes? It was like seconds.
Yeah, it speeds it up and it'll handle huge amounts. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Awesome.
We've also implemented Microsoft Outlook email integration, so you can access your contact list when you're sending email, so you can pick who you're sending it to using some of the Outlook tools. All right, that's it for the IT side. I want to jump into the inspection module now, and one of my favorite new items is the ability to add a button at the bottom of an inspection. So in this inspection here, I've got a long list of tests in the inspection, and if I go ahead and run it, I've got this scaled down just to exaggerate the scrolling that has to happen. But you see there's a button at the top and a button at the bottom, but if you're in the middle, you don't see them. Whereas I've redefined this area down below, adding an area here, and I changed the color to red, and it's a clickable button. So there you can have operator like click for instructions, or maybe they're, whatever it is you want them to do through a button that you might have had in the past that scrolls off the screen. You can now make it a permanent button and look at it and see it at all times. So if I go and look at the script that defines the button, it's pretty simple. It's just the message area. I'm setting the text, I'm setting the color, and I'm associating a script with that area. If I would turn off, comment out the script, and run it, then basically it turns into a label or a message area where when I click, nothing happens. So you can use it as messages or actually run a script, either way. But the goal there is to give you better control of the operator experience.
That's kind of cool.
Okay.
I can think of a lot of things that we could use that for.
Yep.
Right. So the other thing I had mentioned earlier was some new date time periods that are going to be really useful. And let's go ahead and go into the charts module on the settings tab and look at a couple of those. So if we go down to the previous section, that's where most of them are showing up. One of the new items that you'll see when I drop down the list is previous day with data. So do you have a dashboard where you want to show yesterday's data? That's a pretty common scenario. What if it's a Monday and you didn't work on Saturday or Sunday? Well, now you can use the previous day with data and show Friday's data on a Monday in your dashboard. The same applies if you didn't work a day due to a holiday. Just switch. Currently, if you're saying previous day, just switch it to previous day with data. And also, because we don't want to take forever going back to find data, we only go back about 10 days or so to find previous day with data, just to keep the system more responsive too. So it'll go back and figure out, if it's been 3 or 4 days since you ran a machine or that part, whatever. But it'll find the data, and your dashboards won't be blank that way, and you won't have to go in and change your date time ranges and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
So that one's pretty exciting, I think. A couple other new ones are previous 2 days. So it gives you a 48-hour window. And you can see like today's the 18th, so this is going from the beginning of the 16th through the 17th of October. Previous 7 days, which is different than previous week. Like previous week would go from a week ago Sunday to last Saturday, where the previous 7 days, since today's Thursday, would go from last Thursday to Wednesday, yesterday. So it gives you just a little more flexibility on the date range side. We also have, if you saw at the bottom there, previous days of the week. So previous Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So you could set up like a dashboard grid with columns from Monday through Friday, and it would go back and find that previous day. Again, it's the idea here is to ease setup where you're not having to go back and change your date ranges all the time. You can set it to previous days of the week, and then your grid always pulls up days of the week in specific columns. All right.
Very, very nice. Appreciate that. And a lot of you are asking questions. I think it's great. I'm trying to ask some of them during. I know we also have more features. I can have someone go through another one as well. I will say, somebody asked what modules are currently have the 64-bit available, and it is just the
charge module for now.
At this time.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll be looking at PC Collect, and I think that'll be the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. And we did have a question earlier. I just want to make sure we covered it. Is explain Byron, when you were first kind of introing everything, what you meant by find the most recent data. And was that in the dashboard, or was it these options?
In the dashboard grid, you can set it up where you don't have to specify like a part number. It'll just go out and figure out what the most recent part that was running on a line.
Okay.
So you don't specify what parts you want to monitor. You just say, I want the most recent part that ran on line X, and the dashboard will figure that out for you and just display the data for that part, or for traceability. You know, whatever it is that you want to key on to say, I want the most recent process that ran, or the most recent lot number that ran. So if you're changing lots throughout a shift and you have this set, it'll find the most recent lot and only include data for that lot. It won't include data for other lots that you might have run on the same shift.
So that's like when you want to define and you've got your columns or your fields set, but you don't want to have to change everything like the part number and then just show me the recent thing.
Or whatever. Yeah, you just say, I want to see the most recent lot that was running on this line, on this shift, and the system will figure it out and only show you the data for that particular lot number.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty powerful too.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. Who wants to show the next feature? I'm looking at you guys. I think you each have one in your back pocket while we're waiting for any other questions.
Well, since I'm sharing, I'll just quick show
a
couple of short ones here.
Yeah, what is that? I thought I was supposed to go first.
So when you're running an inspection, there's a new enter key behavior. If you look at the little, can you see the yellow down at the bottom to help? The old way, the enter key submits a sub-inspection if everything's filled out. There's a couple new settings where a tab mode where the enter key just always tabs to the next field or next test. In inspection, it just keeps looping around. The tab submit is kind of nice in that it tabs its way through everything, and then when you're at the end, it'll submit the sub-inspection. So it's just a little more flexibility. If the operators like to hit enter and they're not used to hitting tab or not wanting to click around, they can just type enter, type enter, type enter, and with the new tab submit, when everything's filled out, they're off and running.
And they don't have to click that submit button.
Right, and they don't have to click the submit button. The other thing, you know, like when David was showing that rating test, you know, if you're, I'll just type something there, and I could only spell, but
sorry.
For all of these tests now, like for formulas before, you could double click to pull up the editor. So we picked the most common thing that you might want to edit when you're looking at a test. So for the ratings test, you know, David had to do a little bit of target practice to go find this little 3-dot button, and we've tried to make those things bigger, and unfortunately Microsoft doesn't really let us do that. But if I go back to the button and just double click on it, whoa, up pops the dialog. So we've done that for all the tests. So no matter which test it is, that we've tried to pick the most common thing you might change associated with that test. So when you double click on these buttons in the middle, like for traceability, it might be changing which traceability value you're looking at. But there, for like the rating test, you double click on it, it just pulls up the dialog that you're typically going to begin to change things. So that's a nice shortcut. So take that,
right.
David.
Okay, yeah.
All right, your turn.
I have just one more thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make David the presenter. I know what he's going to show. I think this is another really, really cool feature. So thank you, Byron. And again, if you guys continue to have questions, even if we don't get to them today, I will make sure that we answer them. We definitely appreciate your participation. David, go. I'll be quiet.
Okay, yeah. So one last thing that I wanted to kind of show was this new event cause and action taken behavior that we can force with sort of out of spec data or out of control data. So this inspection that I had up earlier with numeric inputs, I'm going to use this to demonstrate what I'm talking about. If I go over to my sub-inspection settings by clicking on this temperature tab over here, under the force note behavior on the top right, we have this new dialog here which allows for sort of customized behavior about what we want the operators to have to enter. So as you can see, there's sort of different combinations. I'll just pick, we're going to force them to enter an action taken, and I'll go ahead and give this a run so we can see what that looks like. So there's some data already in here. Let's just do one measurement. And now if I enter, oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm getting I'm needing to change my actual test to pick that up, I think. So I want to force note for each test and then force action taken. One thing I forgot to mention is those settings are coming from the sub-inspection settings, and my numeric input here under force note, I'm using the sub-inspection settings. So it's picking those up from the sub-inspection.
Good point.
Okay.
So you could override the sub-inspection setting for a particular input if you wanted to.
If I wanted to.
Okay.
Well, that's just way too cool.
That's maybe a little bit too much work. So now, if I enter some value like this, like that's out of spec, and I try to submit, this box pops up, and you can see from the required options, it's requiring a note and it's requiring an action taken. So without entering those, I won't be able to go forward, but the event and the cause are not required because I didn't check those boxes.
Cool.
That is really cool. So if anybody knows from before, that was just something we could put in the sub-inspection and not tied to an individual test.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely awesome. And David was like, yep, that's it, I'm done. So
Yep.
just bear with me here just a second. We do have a couple questions real quick. You guys can fight over who wants to answer it. On capability charting, is there an option for PP and PPK readings added to the CP and CPK?
Sure. So I think, I mean, if you're talking about maybe in the title or the header, you can add that.
Or statistics after?
Statistics after. You can do both PP and PPK as well as CP and CPK. I'm not sure if that's what that's referring to, and whoever submitted that, we can follow up later to find out what you're really trying to do there. But yeah, those are, there are 300 plus statistics, and CPK, CP, PPK, and PP are all in there.
And then I think we had a question, I hate to put it out there, that was kind of from internal question, talking about the vertical side.
Oh,
that
yeah.
you might not have mentioned in
Right, David, you want to show that one?
Sure, yeah.
That's a really cool one, I think.
So that is something I actually even have a demo all ready for you guys. Just waiting for somebody to ask that. So this inspection that I was just running, you may have noticed it's a bit long vertically, just in terms of the size of the page. There's a little bit of scrolling, and you can imagine that there might have to be even more scrolling if there are a few more numeric inputs. So that's a lot of unnecessary space in some cases. So what I've done is I've created this exact same inspection, except I'm using what's called short height. So before I go to that, let me just point out where the settings are that I'm talking about the short height settings. So all of these traceability boxes and numeric inputs, they all have an option over here on the right-hand side that's called vertical size, and that's new. So we can change that to be short. And let me actually close out of this one and open my short height demo. So what I've done in this version of the inspections, I've changed the vertical size to be short on all of them. And now, if I go into it, it's a lot more compact. Everything fits on one screen without any scrolling.
So operators do less scrolling, ideally no scrolling.
Ideally none, yes.
So we're just trying to utilize the space better in that case than not so much. I mean, white space is nice for design and all that, but sometimes it's more important where the operators aren't having to scroll. So scrunching it in a little bit, there's less white space.
See everything.
But you can see everything all at once and you're not scrolling. So yeah, that's a good one.
And was that something that a customer had inquired about?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was not wanting to scroll, or what can we do other than splitting up into multiple sub-inspections, which, you know, sometimes makes sense when you're doing different activities or topics. You want to split it up into different sub-inspections. But sometimes everything's related, but they're having to scroll, and they might forget to enter the last, you know, numeric input, and then they hit submit, or submit isn't enabled, and they can't figure out why, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it'll really help in some cases to eliminate the scrolling.
Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate everybody that has come and joined us. Thank you so much, David and Byron. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys. I feel smart just being in the middle here. As we come to a close, we have just a few minutes left.
What about ice cream? David was demoing
yeah,
ice
where's our ice cream
cream?
I thought you guys were bringing the ice cream. That was why I demoed it.
I would like to say that starting next year in January, we're going to be doing these webinars monthly. So every third Thursday of the month at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be doing it from January to November, and I figured I'd give somebody a break in December, you know, because that is around Christmas time. But we're going to put on our web, we have a GainSeeker Tech Tips Live web page on our website. We'll probably put about 3 months of topics on at a time. You know, Outlook has this great thing where you can just make a repetitive calendar mark. So I urge you to do that and then just register as it gets closer. I'm hoping in the next month to have January, February, and March's topics out there for you. Again, when you guys leave, please tell us from the drop-down or from the text box. I can let you type in there which one was your favorite one from today. We've got a little inside bet going, so your contribution to choosing one is very, very necessary. So we can declare a winner. I will be happy to share that with you guys later. Also, it has been videotaped, or I shouldn't say videotaped, but it has been taped. So I will share with you guys the link on that as well. As always, ever have a suggestion for a topic, a suggestion for enhancements, please let us know. Without you guys having suggestions, you know, we don't have these upgrades available. So. And
Jen, real quick, one last question. Did you mention when 9.1 is coming out?
I believe we did, but again, Byron, you said it was
for the end of October.
We're shooting for the end of October.
Looks like we're on target for that.
So yay,
yay,
right? It'd be like a trick or treat. It'd be a treat.
It's like Christmas for me.
A treat, not a trick. So that's what we're aiming for. No. So again, it's 2:30. We like to stop right on time. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we look forward to doing another webinar here in January. All right. Thank you guys.